Hey everybody, long ago ego here. My name is Jeffrey, and today we have a special treat because I'm going to be playing my son Kenta. We've already got a board up, and so it's Kenta's move. Okay, Kenta, you can take it away. All right. He's going to play a 3-4 point down here in the lower right corner. Now, this is also kind of Ryan's uh, tutorial. So we'll be explaining some simple stuff. We always want to start in the corners because the corners are the easiest sort of to defend. Uh, so from the corners, we go to the sides. The center is the sort of the last place we want to go. So Kent is taking his position, and I will take an opposite corner. Now I'll go on a 4-4 point. Now, on the board, the lines from the sides are pretty important. Third line, like Kenta is on the third line from the bottom. So the third line is geared towards making territory along the sides. Now, Kenta is also on the fourth line, and my stone, of course, is 4-4, so totally on the fourth line. Fourth line is oriented towards influence towards the center. So the third line, fourth line is a demarcation line indicating sides versus center. Okay, so Kent is taking another 3-4 point. And let's see, what do we want to do? Yeah, we'll take this 3-4 point up here. Okay, so now we've each taken two corners or played in two corners. Now from here, you can do one of two things. You can either enclose one of your own corners or approach your opponent's corners. Now, I always feel it's better to approach your opponent's corner. And there are specific kinds of ways that we do that. Kenta, how are you going to do that? No, too high. Yeah, you can undo. Yeah. So, okay. So the Kema approach to a 4-4 stone is very typical. So it's two over and one down, or one up and two over. So either direction. It's also called a knight's move because it performs in the same way as the knight in chess. Now, we can do a lot of different things. We could kick it, we can back off, or we can go over the top. So typically, we want to just back off because backing off gives us some movement towards the side. Okay, Kenta, what do you want to do? Oh, sorry. I have to play on two boards here, so I sometimes forget. Now, typically in the corners, you want to have the same number of stones. So I had one stone in the corner. Kenta approached, so he had one stone. Now I have a second stone, so Kenta wants to play a second stone in order for that corner to be balanced. Now he could do a couple of things. He could either just get a base on the side by jumping two spaces on the third line. He could go into the corner in some way, which is what he's decided to do. Now he's decided to attach. The more common thing to do would be to slide into the corner with a kema. Okay, so he wants to try and push me around, so I will just block him. Now, the problem with attaching is that you get one hand on me, but I immediately get two hands on you. Okay. Now, the problem with letting someone get two hands on you is they can immediately Atari if it's a single stone. Okay. So in this situation, you could just drop down to B16. So drop towards the side with your, there you go. Okay. Now, if I don't do anything, Kenta could then push into the corner, and then he would have two hands on my stone. Okay. So I don't want that to happen. So I'm also going to drop down. Okay. Now I've got four stones in the corner. So Kenta would typically want to have one more stone with that group. Now, like I said before, uh, going down the side is always a good thing to do. Or he could push on the D16 stone. Now he's decided to go under, which is kind of something you would do later in the game, not this early. Um, okay, so let's take that back. Yeah. Okay, so he's going to push up here, and I'm just going to fall back and connect up to this other stone. Of course, a diagonal cannot be breached, so that's good. Okay. Now, still, going down the side is probably the best thing you can do to finish off this corner. But he's going to push one more time. Now, this time, I can Hane at the head of his stones. Now, he hasn't gotten into trouble, but he also hasn't made any position along the side. Of course, what we're trying to do is surround more territory than our opponent. Okay. Now, that's kind of high and outside, Kenta. Yeah. Typically, you'd want to do either a high approach, which would be on the fourth line, or a low approach, which would be a kema on the third line. Okay. Now, typically, when someone does a low approach, we kick them. Now, this is called a kick because it's connected to my stone diagonally. So it's a safe, it's not really considered an attachment because of the nature of the diagonal connection to my own stone. And usually, yeah, the opponent would stand. So make a 2-stone mini wall here. And then in this case, I would go down the side. Now I've got 3 stones in the corner. Kenta has 2. So he still owes me 1 stone in the corner. But he also still owes me 1 stone over in the first corner that he approached. Now typically you would go over 1, 2, 3 spaces. So either high at L16 or low at L17. Yeah, so he's gone high. Now, high means that he's orienting that more towards the center and escaping rather than trying to make a strong base along the side. Okay. Now, I've got 3 and he's got 3. So this corner, in terms of the opening, is pretty settled. Now, over here, I've got 6 and he's got 5. He approached me. So he still owes me a stone in this corner. But what we're going to do is we're going to approach his stone in the lower right. Okay. Now, this is what I call a reverse low approach response. So he's doing like I did up here, but in that case, he was low approach. In this case, I'm a high approach. And it's reversed because it sort of makes me want to block in the low approach position, which is fine. Okay, so then he's going to do what I did and go over 2 spaces. On the third line, a 2-space jump or extension is good. Now, a more typical thing we might do is that he would attach below. I would put 2 hands on him. He would run back to his friend. I would connect. Then he would extend, and then I would extend. Okay, so that's a more typical situation. But he's doing it differently, so we will just go over high. Now, on the sides, I don't want to go over low because I already have a low stone. So I want to go over high. So we want a combination of low and high stones on a side where we have a lot of dominance. Okay, so let me put that out there. I still just want to go 1, 2, 3 spaces over. More than that is troublesome for you. Okay, so now Kenta can do a couple of things. He still owes me a stone up here, in the upper left, or he could enclose this other corner. Let's go. The opening, of course, is very important, but the real action or cleverness doesn't happen until all the four corners have been concluded. Okay, now he has a very strong presence up here, and so he's gone 1, 2, 3 spaces between, and he's going low. Now, I would think maybe he probably could have gone high because of that, but low makes it pretty secure. Okay, now I'm going to go over here and do a high approach again because I like high approaches. Nothing low bad about a low approach, but Kent is going to do a reverse again. Okay, so now he's got 1, 2, 3 low stones on this side. So, not what I would have done. Now, for me, over here I went high, but here I'm going to go low because of this stone. Right here went high because I had a low stone. Here I'm going low because this stone is low. Now, this, of course, is training for beginners, not advice to uh, people who are already single cue players. This is just to get a nice balanced opening, which is best for beginners. Once you become more familiar and start moving up in experience and knowledge, then you can do other kinds of things in the opening. But we don't want to get carried away by playing too much in any one corner. That would be bad. Okay, so now I've got the 3 stones in this corner. He's got 3 stones in this corner. So all of our corners are finished. Now it's up to Kenta to find a place he would like to play independent of the opening part of the game. Okay, so he's going to attach to me. And I'm going to put 2 hands on him by coming over the top here. Now, in Go, attacking is usually done from a distance. And then I'm going to drop down. So if you attach to a weak stone, you're going to make it stronger. So now it's up to Kenta to do what he wants to do. Now, when you can do anything you want, it's called having sente. Okay. I'm just going to go on the side, the outside of his stone, which means it's closer to my group of stones. So this position is a little bit high because okay, my assistant wanted to talk to me. Okay, so there's this push through here that might cause Kenta some problem because of that stone. Now, again, he's attaching to me. Now, this time I want to, I think, go on this side. So I'm going on this side in order to keep this stone separated from those stones. If I go on this side, he could play here, connect back. So we want to keep our stones connected, which is what I was doing here. But here I want to keep his stones disconnected. So when someone puts two hands in you, it's a good idea to just extend, right? Now, I am going to do basically the same thing by extending towards my stones because if Kenta puts a stone here, that's going to disconnect me from my group. So there's an adage: put your stone where your opponent wants to put their stone. And then I'll just go back here, keep my stones connected. Okay. Now, Kenta has created a very strong wall. So we want to try to negate that in some way. But the first thing I want to do is I want to confront this stone. Now, there's another premise called sector lines, which means the two outside points of your position, there's a line that runs between them. So placing your opponent placing a stone on the outside of that line is good. Placing a stone on the inside of that line would be bad because of the idea of being surrounded. You don't want to be surrounded. Now, in terms of yourself, you want to try to extend your sector line, grow it so that it makes your opponent unable to get close or into that area. because we are uh, trying to enclose area, because whoever encloses the most area wins. Okay, so he switched sides here. Now here, I'm just going to do some funny business by doing an atari on this stone. And then dropping down. Now, whether or not that will seal the deal for taking his corner away from him is to be seen. Okay. So he's dropping down. I'm going to connect because I want to keep my stones alive in this situation. And he's going to connect there. I will drop down over here. Now, we're getting into the area of life or death, which is something that usually involves corners. However, before we talk about that, we need to talk about ladders. Now, when you see two stones with a stone here, you don't want to place your stone inside of that because your opponent will do this. And you have no escape because this is a ladder. Now, if there was a black stone down here, this would be a ladder breaker. But unfortunately, there's no stone down there. So this ladder is good for white. Now, there are things that black can do in this situation, but extending is not one of them because he's not putting my stones into a toddy. Now, if this extension put my stones into a toddy, I would have to do something to protect them, but I don't because they're not in a toddy, so I can just keep him in the ladder. And that's not really, it doesn't look like a ladder, it looks more like a staircase because it has this sort of a motion. No, you can't. That's why it's called the ladder. So now that you realize you can't get out of that, there is a question of life and death in the corner. Now, the corner is the best place to make secure territory if it's not isolated, which is why when we do our corners, we also extend down the sides, okay, because we don't want to get isolated to the corner. Okay, but here it got cut off because of that stone over there. So being cut off means it has the potential of being surrounded, and then it will die unless it can make two eyes. The concept of two eyes is central to playing Go because you can't live with one eye. Because once the outside is surrounded, then your opponent will put a stone in the center. So I'm getting some cross interference. Okay. Now, it's kind of important that before you place a stone, you think about what your opponent might do and what you would do if your opponent does A, what you would do if your opponent does B, or what you would do if your opponent does C. So you have to follow the branches of, of what might happen. Now, I think this is favorable to me. And this is sort of a net situation because of this stone. This one has no way of getting out of the net of white stones surrounding it. Okay, now, yeah, this is one of the better moves you could have made because it forces me to then take these stones. No, that still doesn't work because I because I just pick you, push you down. I would push you down there. Accept that undo. So if you watch war movies, you know that the platoon sergeant or the lieutenant takes care of his men because you only have the man standing next to you to watch your back. However, the generals have a bigger picture. So sometimes it's necessary for a general to sacrifice in one area in order to make the breakthrough in another area. So Go is like being a general. You can't uh, be in love with the stones you've already played. Uh, a lot of times you're just looking to see if something will happen or find out what will happen if you do something. And if it doesn't work out in your favor, you have to abandon it. Perhaps you could come back later and make something happen due to the intervening stones. But okay, and I will just connect. Now I could take his stone, but it's pretty well surrounded, so it's dead, and connecting is the better thing to do. So, yeah, I was going to say, where you are strong, you don't necessarily have to do anything. Where you are weak is where you need to do something. Now, where you're strong, of course, is where you have the greatest potential to make uh, points to win the game. However, where you're weak is a place where you have the greatest chance of losing a lot of points by things dying. So you need to create a balance between your expanding your strong groups and protecting your weak groups. And it's usually better to advance from strength rather than weakness. So protecting your weaker points is sort of a good thing to do. Now, I don't know why this is so glitchy. So I'm going to do something. Maybe we'll go to the weather cam. It could be the weather cam that's causing the problem. If that settles down my camera at all. Okay, so Kenta is still working on his stronger group, and I am going to cut here just because I think it's going to work out well for me. Okay, so he's going to push me up, and I will extend. Okay. And I'm going to just tidy this for the moment. And then I will extend. And I will extend. Okay, now playing at the top of a thing like this where your opponent can go to the side, not really the best move. Keeping your stones together and your opponent's stones separated is very important. Okay, so that's a nice sideways jump. Now, I am going to keep this stone from extending to the side, which would make it more difficult to capture. But by playing here, I have nothing to worry about. So, eliminate weaknesses is always good. Okay, let's see. I don't care about an atari there because I am strong. Okay. Uh, Probably extending here would be better than connecting there, but not a problem. Okay. Okay, so I think we want to do a monkey jump over here. A monkey jump occurs when your stone on the second line is lower than their stones. They don't have another stone on the second line. They do, you can't do a monkey jump. And then it's an ogema, not just a knight's move, a kema, but a ogema. One more. So it's a big knight's move. Okay? So then if he plays behind you, you put it into a toddy. Now, this is actually one of the ways you deal with a monkey jump. This is not the way you deal with the monkey jump. Now, if you had played here, you would have atari'd me, which means I need to take a stone. Then you could have played here, which would have atari'd that stone. And then when I filled in, you could connect. Okay. So the purpose of what I'm doing is to undermine his territory. Okay. Now, that allowed me to get my nose out into his business here. So the biggest places to make territory are in the corners and along the sides. So if you can take some of the side away from your opponent, then that's good for you. Now, it doesn't mean that there's not other big things I could do, but this looks good to me. Now, the problem with this is I can play a stone on top, and because it's on the second line, I have the potential to put it into an atari. Now I want to connect. Okay. Now, that's about all that that can do. So let's jump down here and take some of his territory away from the center. So I took his territory away from the side. Now I want to restrict what he can do from the center. And of course, it means that I have a nice little pocket there for myself. Um, this wasn't really a problem because if I cut, you can rescue that. However, this would have been a better move because it keeps me from coming out. But for right now, I'm just going to play over here. And I'm not worried about that. So what I'm trying to do is restrict him here and stop him there while also surrounding a bit of territory here. How is Kenta going to try to prevent me from doing that? And we lost Kenta on the FaceTime. He's not a big chatter, so we're not going to worry about that too much. We're just going to go here. But it's probably as important that he listen to what I'm saying. Though he will have the video to go back to later. Now we want to also prevent these stones from pushing into the pocket that we're trying to grow. So we will jump here. Now this is an awful wide space, so you can't expect to stop black from pushing in completely. So you're going to have to give way a bit. But being closer to my side uh, position is better than being closer to the center because the side is where we make territory. Okay, so he's pushing against that, which means that I will connect here to block him from coming in. also want to attack that cutting point. So I will come back towards my stones. Take this stone before it gets activated. Now, if black goes here, that creates a nice position for him. Okay. And I will just come out once more. Okay, so he's going to jump into the thick of things, and he will need to try to connect to his group. So he'll either want to go try to connect here or try to connect here because there's nothing else for him to do. So we want to close this one off because it's the closest one. Now, we could do one of two things here. We could play on this side to add one more stone to this group of stones that we believe are going to die. But if I did that and he comes out, then I need to protect here. Then he might have a chance to escape down here. So we will Atari on the other side just to be safe. Now, if he doesn't try to save the Atari stone, we can take it. If he tries to take the Atari stone, then we will close off this other line of escape by playing there. Okay. Now, how do we want to deal with that? I think we just want to clamp that stone because this is connected to that, and I believe he will not be able to escape. Escape means being able to connect back to that stone. If he goes here, I can extend there. These are connected to that stone. So he's going to come down with this, which means I can tutty here. And this time I will take the stone because it keeps it from becoming a nuisance and it secures my border. So I don't have to worry about anything along the side anymore. Okay. Now, typically, when we lay a stone, we want it to be something where we don't want to have to follow up. So, for example, here, when he plays here to put me, when I play here, when he puts me into a tutty, I have to follow up because I don't want him to take that stone. And if he did, he would be into my corner. However, it's not gote. It doesn't end with him being able to play sente because if he plays away like there, I play here, I have double a tutty. These two stones are in a tutty. That stone is into a tutty. So that would typically mean that he doesn't have a chance of escaping. Now, this stone is a little bit too far into my territory. Now, if he had just filled, that would have been good. But now I can take this stone. I have to show his extension first. Yeah, sorry. Can't extend it. So then I can just take this stone. So it's very important to learn when you have to follow up a situation and when it's not necessary to follow up in a situation. Now, if there is something over here, a cutting point that uh, those two black stones could leverage to kill something, then this might be a good thing to do. But the only thing we have is way up here. And that just makes this group stronger. And this stone is still in a tutty, so it's not going anywhere. Okay, so he's got to tutty me back, and I will fill. Now, of course, he has me playing in a tutty there. So the question is, does he want to um, fill that in? Okay, so he's going to try to do something here. Like I said, I don't see where that can go anywhere. Because I have not only this stone in a tutty, but this stone in a tutty as well. Now, as a new or newish player, you should not expect to win when playing against your teacher or more experienced player. It's just not going to happen. Now, I could just take that stone, but maybe I'll just, yeah, maybe I'll just fill in here. Because if he tries to connect to the Atadied stone, then the three stones would be in Atadi. So the purpose of playing as a new or newish player is to learn the board, learn the relationship of stones to the board, and the relationship of stones to each other, and um, how to identify weak groups, strong groups, uh, where you might get into trouble, and how to uh, just create stronger groups, how to rescue weaker groups, make them strong enough to survive. Now, it's also good to learn how to fight, which is what Kent is doing now, is fighting. And we're not going to fight here. We're just going to make my wall stronger because the potential for additional points by fighting is not enough. There's nothing there that I can necessarily make points. But if I try to fight, he might break through and attach up to this stone or uh, spoil some of my territory. So, cost benefit, it benefits me more just to play solid and defensive in this situation. As a person who's behind, uh, Kenta wants to try to make some advantage someplace. Again, I don't want him coming through. Now, these three stones are connected all along the side, so I don't have to worry about them. This group is connected to my other stones by this stone that's in a tari that I can just take. This is actually a very big point, bigger than that. Or I do have two cutting points here. But do I need to worry about them? I don't think so. This one's connected back, connected to this group. So why don't I do something like monkey jump over here? So letting your opponent get below your third line territory is not a good thing. Let's connect there just to be safe. And let's play something like this. Be sure that he can't do anything in the center. Now, this is a nice structure, but it does not have two eyes. It has one eye. Now, you can let your opponent have a structure with one eye. There's nothing wrong with that. We're going to push through here. Push on that. Now, you don't want to do desperate things that put somewhat secure areas at risk of becoming completely unsecure. Now, that was, of course, an attempt to separate my stones, but I had a stone in a toddy, which means that I can reconnect the two groups. So he's not able to separate me in that manner. And the same goes for this. Those stones connect out. So it's important to know how your stones are connected and how your opponent's stones are connected. If your opponent's stones are connected or his group is alive, immortal, then you cannot attack it with success. If something is weak, then you can attack it. Okay, now here, right, this is a place where you can push back at your opponent. Right. Okay, so that picks up or redistributes the balance of power by 3 to 5 stones. as I said before, you have to know when. You have to follow through on something that you have done. And these stones are connected to this group, and this group is connected out. So I will ignore that and just take away the advances he made here at the top. Now, he made a few points, reduced me, made some for himself, but now he's lost more than he would have done by having done nothing. Okay, now this is a nice teaching point because I have him in a toddy and he has me in a toddy. Now, most people would take those two black stones by playing here, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to play here instead because that reduces black and his stones cannot escape because of the snapback situation that is created here. If he takes my one stone by putting a third stone at P19, he is still in a toddy, and I can take him back by playing at P18. So the best for him is to play N19. I will demonstrate that while he's thinking. So if he plays there and takes my stone, well, these stones have him in a toddy. So I would just play back and take those three stones. And in that case, he would still need to play here. But he's given me one stone, which he actually took a stone. So it evens out, but still. Okay, so he plays there. I take those stones. Now, there are still some places on the board that he owes me some moves. And that's not one of them. Okay, so we'll just play this one first because that's a double atari. So the single stone is in a tutty and the two stones are in a tutty. In a double atari, you can save one group, but not both groups. Now, this group down here, we would like Kenta to explain how it's going to get two eyes. How he thinks that's possible. It might be possible, but I don't think so. Okay, so he's going to save those. Means I'll take those. Oh, I forgot to lay that stone. Okay, that's what I was talking about, the double atari. So, sorry, I'm playing on two boards here. Playing on OGS as well as on here. Okay, so I finished up there. Now Kente has Sente, so he's going to play this. Means I get to take this stone, which puts his stone into Atari. Okay, so he did come back and save. Well, he didn't actually come back and save those stones. Now, here's another teaching moment. You have to be careful of what you do. So that's an Atari. If he had connected, he needed to connect here. Needed to connect there. Laying there. Doesn't work. So this just comes down to experience, right? Um, very important to learn from your mistakes. You need to look at what actually is created on the board when you play a stone. Okay, so we are going to finally come over to this corner. So I didn't play here before because it was very easy to save, but it's not going to be saved that way. Now, what is he threatening to do? Split me here? Well, if he does that, he's got two liberties. So if I at least have two liberties elsewhere, then he's not going to be able to do that. So I can play here. Now if he splits, my two stones have three liberties. He has two liberties, and now he's dead in the corner. So he needed to play there. Maybe there. Yeah, this is not the place to play. Just threatening to cut something doesn't mean that you're going to be able to do that. Now, it's important for black to realize what white could have done. And it's important for white to realize what it can do in this situation. A situation has two sides. Now, if you're black and you think, oh, if I play here, he's going to play there. Well, does he have to play there? And even if I do play there, how does that help your corner? Okay, it still looks like it's going to die. So now, if black plays here, he would have the potential for an I there. So where your opponent wants to play is where you want to play. So I want to play here. So it's important to learn what your opponent wants to do. You can't just be looking at the game from your perspective, right? It's not a one sided game. Two people are playing, and hopefully you'll eventually get to the point where you're evenly matched with someone. So it's going to come down to a very small um, difference in the score, who wins. So you need to have uh, been practicing thinking about what your opponent is going to do when you do something. What are they going to do when it's their turn? What are they going to do if you play A or if you play B? Okay. I don't see where that's going anywhere, so let's do this. Now, I apologize for beating up on my son, but this is a teaching game, uh, somewhat for Ryan. Okay, now, can this do anything? Well, this is not a living group, and the most this can do is go down this line. And if it goes down that line, I'll just stay ahead of it, and so it won't be able to do anything. Oops, forgot to put that stone there. So I'm going to ignore that, and instead I'm going to just take this stone. Okay, so yeah, that's the thing I was looking at, was right there. And if he's going to do that, I'm going to connect there. Be sure there's no shenanigans that can happen over there. Okay. Um, yeah, I'm not sure exactly how that was going to help. Yeah. Now, whether or not he can do anything over here, I'm not sure. Now, if you start playing online against people around your level, a lot of people online do not play the kind of solid game that I try to teach my students to play. Therefore, they will do a lot of goofy things that you can take advantage of. Yeah, again, I'm not sure exactly where that's going. So I'll just do this to keep him from connecting up to these other four stones over here. Now, were these savable? Yeah, I'm going to play here. I don't want to get into any kind of mischief. This stone can't go anywhere, so I want to keep this stone connected here. It's probably connected back, but when things get tight, you really need to think about it. And I'm old and I don't like to think about things, so it's easier just to stay connected here as well as back there. Now, the problem with this is that I can just take this stone and put him into a tutty. Yeah. So yeah, there's nowhere for either side of my splitting group. No place for him to go. Okay, I'll just connect up here. And now there is nothing he can do over here. He can't play here because he's in a toddy if he does that. He could play here, but then I play here, and then he's in a toddy, so he's got to play there. So these stones, these five stones, are disconnected from the corner, and the corner doesn't have any eyes. Yeah, it's a little late for the corner to get eyes. Now, if black could play two moves, um, he could do it. But he doesn't get to play two. He only gets to play one before I have my chance to play. So, being short of liberties, this is kind of a liberty race. Being short of liberties is what kills you. So, like I explained, liberties over here. If he goes up, he would then have two liberties. He only has two liberties, while this group that he's trying to uh, disconnect would have one, two, three liberties. So he's short by one liberty, so he can't do anything there. Okay? So I already have an eye here, and I've got room for an eye there. He does not have room to make even one eye. He can't cut off this group because I can kill this stone. It's an Atari. And that doesn't go anywhere. You know, until you've played enough games, you're not going to know that something is not possible because you haven't learned to see what your opponent can do. Right? So that stone can't go anywhere. Plus, this group is connected to this group through that point and through this dead stone. So if you were playing online against someone, they would take great offense to you playing like this because I would hope that they would know that that's uh, not going anywhere. Okay. I guess we'll play there. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure where that's going to go, but I'm going to connect these stones. Okay. Go here for a moment. Hello again. So I would just uh, tighten up the things that you can save a few points on rather than trying to make magic happen where no magic can take place. Okay. So that puts me in a toddy, so I need to take his two stones. Now, if he looks closely, there's a double atari in that area. So this is where you would want to play a stone to protect the double atari from happening. Okay? And I am going to push there. That puts 2 stones in a tutty. And then I'm going to play here, which means I get the maximum number of points from that little excursion I made earlier. Now, this group does still have an open spot here. It's only 1 point, but it is open. So, Kenta, you only have the 2 living groups, the one in the upper rightish corner and the one in the central left side. Now, the central left side, it does have an open spot at D6. And that's kind of it. Oh, except for this Atari. Okay. Now, if you play, block that. Oop, that's Blackstone. Sorry. Blackstone. Okay. Now, yeah, everything else is dead. Now, you could play at F6. That does put one of my stones into a tutty. And it's a dame point for you. It doesn't matter. So then I would just capture that stone. Okay. So I think you can pass. And I will pass. Oh, wait a minute. Let me take that one. Okay. Pass. Okay. So those are all the dead stones. So I'm going to accept. And then you should accept. Okay. So we will look at this in Messenger chat in our Go group. So uh, we will do that later. So this is not a close enough game to look at how to count um, because there's just too many dead black stones. The black stones go into the black area and it would be overwhelmingly off balance. Okay, so Kenta, thank you very much. We're going to stop this game here because it's finished, and we will take up reviewing in our Go group. Thanks for watching.